Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another video. This one's going to be doing my top 10 worst buildings in the Simpsons Tapped Out superhero event. So we've of course had two superhero events now. So I decided to do my I did my best buildings. Go watch that if you haven't watched it. And now this is the worst ones, And I've got to say before I do start, there isn't really so many buildings that I dislike. There is only really one in this list that and that's the number one spot that I kind of have a little bit of a disliking to. But overall, I like the buildings in the superhero updates. I pretty much like all of them. They're really cool buildings. So yeah, I'm gonna be very nitpicky here, and I do apologise because it's the only way I can actually really get a list of 10. So you'll have to work with me. But yeah, we got this. So number 10 is actually the Springfield Burns State Prison, sorry, I should just call it that. Now, the reason I've put this as number 10 is, first of all, the main reason anyway is I didn't like the reason they added it into the superhero update, because the problem is the episode, obviously the guy turns into an art museum when he obviously sees, I forget who it was, but he sees like a scrumped up bit of paper and he's like, oh, that's a perfect idea for an art museum. And then obviously Burns buys it and turns it into a prison after instead, and they didn't really utilize that utilize, is that the right word? They didn't really use that storyline so much. They kind of touched on it, but they focused it more around the whole, like, the felon, it's storing felons, and I didn't like the fact they did that. I would have preferred it if it wasn't added in the superhero event and they were to add like another building in its place. I know obviously they added it because they wanted the whole felon thing, and they wanted to you could release felons from the jail, but I don't know, I would have preferred it maybe if they could have just made that as a feature for the penitentium, the Springfield Penitentium, for a bit, but for some reason they had to add this building in, and I just felt like it kind of ruined it. It would have been a cool storyline to actually focus on. Number 9 is actually the Solient Red Factory. The main reason I don't really like this building, again, it's very big. It's extremely big, and it's not the most interesting of buildings. It looks a bit like the because at first I actually thought it was a monorail station. That's how big it is. I actually thought it was a monorail station. I was like, okay, we're getting another one of these, but it's not. It's actually it's a whole new sort of big building, and of course it's just a very bulky building, and that's the reason I don't like it. But it's all right as a building, really. I mean, it's just because of the bulkiness. The fact also you can't rotate it, that's another really annoying thing. I don't like buildings you can't rotate, because then you're obviously stuck with putting them on the face-on view and not obviously having a side view. Number 8 is the Spirography factory. Again, this one, it's a tad big. It didn't really work into the story either. Again, like I said, I'm very picky. It's a very picky thing, but yeah, I think it was a tad big. Didn't really fit in with the story all too much, and was just sort of thrown in there as an extra prize. It was pretty cool anyway, but whatever. I don't really have much else of a yeah. Anyway, moving on. Number 7 is Death Mountain. So this, of course, was donuts, which is never good. I don't like it when there's donuts. It came with a cool character, I guess, but the problem I have with it, again, it comes down to the size, and also it's a bit of an eyesore. It's hard to fit in anyway. It's an okay building overall. I find it really, really hard to fit it in into the town. Obviously, I put it into the sort of mountainy area, and I've just made like this little mountainy area where all the superhero buildings are, like in secret, which I think works. But yeah, it was an okay building, really. But of course, I have to nitpick here. The top 6 are not really nitpicky. They've actually got genuine reasons. But yeah, that's why I've put that one there. So I do apologise to them. So of course number 6 is actually Dr. Lenny's lab. So Dr. Lenny's lab, it was originally a water building. It was a building that was in the water. For some reason they've added it so it's a land building, but it's seen in water. It would have been much better if they just added it so you can add it to the sea. In my opinion, I think that. Also, it didn't add Lenny with it. Actually, Dr. Lenny, I know he wasn't a big character, he was a one-time character, but it would have been cool to at least get a non-playable character of him. Yeah. I mean, overall, it's not like that bad. It was all right. They added it. You know, it's a villains building, I guess. So they just kind of added that. But I just would have preferred it if they wouldn't have been hard just to add it in the water. You know, again, just a little nitpick, really. It wasn't seen or maybe even a river. That would be really cool. I really want to see them add stuff that you can place on the rivers and the roads, actually, for that matter. Obviously, the monorail does that, so I don't see why not. Dr. Lenny's Lab can't go on the rivers. Anyway, number 5 is actually Radioactive Man's movie set. Now, of course, I wasn't so annoyed with this. It was cool. It was pretty cool, but it's very big. It's extremely big. It's too big. Okay. I get it, it's a movie set. But the other movie set we've got is easy. It's easy to fit in. This one is really, really bulky and it's just weirdly shaped. I find it really, really hard to fit it in. Of course, it was donuts as well, which is never great. We don't like donuts, do we? We don't like donut stuff. It's nice when we get free stuff. Nicer when we get free stuff. It's just bulky, and that's the main reason. There's nothing really else. Number 4 is the Zenith City storefront, the Zenith City apartments, and the Zenith City lofts. They're just these are the 2015 ones. Again, nitpicky. I'm being very nitpicky. They're very bland buildings, and that's the problem I have with them. They're just a bit bland. Of course, you can have multiple of them, which is pretty cool. But I just always feel tasked to buy more than one when I really don't want more than one because they just don't look very appealing to me. So that's my awful little justification for that. Number 3 is actually Burns' Summer Mansion. So the reason I put Burns' Summer Mansion here is because it was completely irrelevant. I don't even really understand why it was there. I don't get why they had to add it in and have the superheroes be added there, go there. It was just so random. And honestly, the building had nothing to do with that whatsoever. It was like they took a really, really good building. They could have come with Larry Burns, could have come with, actually Larry Burns was probably the best one it could have come with. But the only building that could have the Larry Burns can really come with. Let's be fair, there are like decorations he could come with, but there's no buildings really apart from that. One of the only ones he could come with, and they just sort of didn't add it. It's just a bit annoying, really, for me. I like it when they obviously had buildings with characters that I think make sense, and it's annoying when they had a building and with no character, and then turns out there's a character that could have come with it. The Republican HQ was another example of that. So yeah. Anyway, moving on, we have number 2 is the Zenith City condo, Zenith City penthouse, and the Zenith City offices. These were the 2016 one. Again, same reason. Very bland, and we've already had them. We've already had these kind of buildings. I don't know why they needed to add more. And of course, they were crafting. I hate crafting stuff. And again, it felt like a chore. It felt like you needed more than one, and that's what I don't like about them. I kind of prefer it when there's only one, because you're like, someone can't take a load and make a really, really cool design, and if they only have one of each. But whatever, they added it. It was alright, I guess, and again, it's just me nitpicking. But our number 1 spot for the worst building, and we have that drum roll, some of you can probably guess it. It's the 2016 Springfield Asylum. So the Springfield Asylum was a Guilds deal, and I've got to say it was an awful Guilds deal. Well, I'll say that. 200 donuts for the Springfield Asylum. It's a huge asylum that lets you spawn felons. The only catch is you can't really spawn many more anyway, because what the thing I found is you fight the felons that came, and then more would come after an hour or so anyway, and so you'd spawn more, and then it sometimes, like, I fought the felons, came back an hour later, and then the building was ready, but there were still felons there, so I couldn't actually spawn them because there's too many felons out, and so I'd fight them and spawn more. It wasn't needed. It wasn't really. It's not like it gives you any more advantage. It spawns 3 felons every I think it was every 12 hours, was it, or 8 hours. It's not much of a use really, because you're not going to go on tapped out unless you go on tapped out like really, really regularly, like 5, 6, 7 times a day. Then I can understand, but really, this was unnecessary. It wasn't a building we needed, really, and they could have made it so like it spawns like the like Coolsville spawns the currency. I would have much preferred it if they did that and didn't spawn the felons, because of course the felons are actually not the easiest things to defeat, because if your heroes, you haven't got, you need to have heroes of all the classes, but if you didn't have the heroes of all the classes, and there was someone where your skill was lower, you couldn't win that battle, and you had to use the heal thing to actually win the battle, which kind of puts you at a disadvantage because then you have to spend donuts when you need more. So honestly, I just think the whole Springfield Asylum, I don't like it when they add these sort of buildings. I see them as scams in a way, because it's like, oh, you can get more currency here, but you have to pay us, you have to pay us money for it. I don't like when EA did this. They do this all the time. They did it with the Bandit Fort and all that. I just don't like it when they do it. It's obvious they're getting money. There's obvious they're like trying to get more money out of it, and it just annoys me. And that's my little rant. So anyway, guys, they're my worst buildings. They're not really that terrible, any of them really. I mean, they're all okay in their own way. Another thing for the Springfield Asylum was we already had asylums. We had a couple of asylums, actually. I think we had... No, that was the mental hospital. Was that a mental hospital? Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think that Sergeant Bob... No, that was just a prison, DM. Yeah, we already had an asylum as well, which was quite big, and we had another huge asylum now. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. That's the end of this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on this idea. Tell me your thoughts on the list. Give me your top 10 worst, or your top 5 worst, or your top 3 worst, or just your worst. I would like to hear any of them. Really do appreciate comments. I prefer comments to likes. I'd rather get 3 comments and 15 dislikes than 15 likes and 0 comments, honestly. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. See you next video. Goodbye.